Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about another aspect of emotional well-being. I want you guys to feel so fantastic, so amazing, no matter what's going on outside the shell, that you're able to stay in a place of alignment. And this wouldn't be every day, this won't be every moment. I have my moments every so often, but I believe that if you have the tools at your fingertips, then you'll be more mindful, you'll be more aware, and you'll be able to navigate through the situations that come to you on this journey in life. Okay? So, um, let's talk about neuropeptides. Neuropeptides are messenger molecules. All right. Messenger molecules that carry the commands from our brain to the rest of our cells in the body. All right. Now it's all this fancy definition, and I want you to know that it's there, right? Everything is based on something. But I'm going to break it down so that even a child could understand. That's fine? Great. So let's say you voice, or you don't even have to voice it, you think, man, stuff going on right now is really scary. This is really scary. People are dying all around me. I don't know what to do. And probably this is not how you say it. You say it with emotion, right? So much things are going on right now. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how long this is gonna last. I don't know if I'm gonna have a job. I don't know what's gonna happen to my stocks. I don't know. So it's with more emotion. You put more emphasis into what you're thinking, right? I have to bring myself there just for emphasis. So you say something like that or you think something like that. The neuropeptides takes that command or that message that, hey, I'm scared. You think it, the neuropeptide says, let me let the body know that this is how it's supposed to function. It's a command. You're scared right now. So the messages start going off towards the body and they're received by the cells say, okay, this person is scared right now. And it starts responding to reflect what the brain has said, what message the brain has put out. Okay, that's the function of neuropeptides. And so you say you're scared, and then the next thing that happens is that you start manifesting the physical effects of that. So shallow breathing, you can't get out of your bed in the morning, or you hyper focus. What's the number today? How many people infected today? What's going on out there? I don't see people. It's just hyper focused. Um, the fourth thing that you may start to demonstrate is that you may have difficulty sleeping at night. You may have panic attacks. You just feel so depleted and drained simply because you gave a command to the brain and the brain just followed your instructions, sent the messages to the cells, and the cells responded accordingly. There's a symbiosis, or there's a growing up, there was an author who said that the body sympathizes with the mind. I've always thought that statement to be very profound. The body sympathizes. You know what it means to sympathize? You know what it means to sympathize. you know when someone is going through something and you want them to feel comforted, right? You want them to feel like it's okay. That's what the body does with the mind. It's pretty much saying, hey, oh, you feel this way, let's help you out. We'll help you out. This is how you want to feel, we'll help you out. Okay. And that's why we want to be mindful of the messages that we send to our brain, the messages that we hold captive in our brains. Because the next thing that happens is that those thoughts build momentum. In physics, how do you build momentum? With movement, right? And acceleration. And when that happens, what you find is after about 15 to 18 minutes, let's say 17 minutes of thinking a thought. Sorry, did I say 15 to 17 minutes? No, not even that long. 15 to 17 seconds. 15 to 17 seconds of you having a thought, you sent the message throughout your body. And that thought matches with another thought. Let's see if we can get an example. Huh. I feel so imprisoned in this house. Can't go anywhere. There's nothing to do. Can't even go exercise. All there is to do is go look for food to eat in this house. And most of the stuff in this house is not even healthy, anyways. I wonder what I'm going to have for breakfast. I'll probably have a pancake with some waffles and cream and chocolate on top of there. But I know that's not good to eat. But then again, there's nothing to do, and I'm just stifling in this house. I feel imprisoned. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do. What else is there to do, anyways? Oh, go watch some TV. Go watch some TV while I'm eating the pancakes and the eggs and some coffee. And I'm looking at the news, and they're saying that they're going to extend the time to April 30th, and there's nothing to do. There's absolutely nothing to do. What am I going to do? I almost feel like I'm starting to build my own momentum. Let me stop this right now. But you get my point, right? As you continue to feast on one thought, that thought attaches itself to another thought, and you keep going. I know most of you have found yourself in a situation like this. One thought meets another thought, and the next thing you know, I don't even know where this started. It was just one little thing, and it just started going downhill like a snowball. And so, um, what I want to speak to is some of the emotions, sorry, that we, I want to speak to the emotions that we hold on to that weaken the body's ability to work in our favor. It weakens the body's ability when something external may be trying to attack it, weakens the body's ability to say, hey, I got your back. All right, let's look at some of those things. um, when you have a number of insecurities, especially if you're not mindful of them, it's one thing to have an insecurity and to say, you know what, that's mine. I know that's mine. I own it. I own it proudly. It's another thing to have an insecurity be attached to you and you're not even aware of it, because then you're functioning on default. You're functioning in pilot mode and you're not even aware of it. Um, and so that's a big deal, because what happens is it with insecurities, again, your body responds. So as your body responds, um, you can tell by looking at somebody physically if they struggle. Not all the time. Some people can hide it very well. But there are times when you look at somebody, shoulders slouched, eyes low, can't look at you in your eye. Yeah, speech is very shallow and not clear. And they ask you a question and you're like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. The physical demonstration of that could also give insight as to what's going on the inside. Let me give some more clarity. Just by sitting in a certain position, I'm restricting my lungs. I am not allowing myself the proper posture so that my lungs can get enough air, right? And added to the cells that have sent the message to the body that this person does not feel good about themselves, it's easy for external vibration that matches that, and we'll talk about that sometime. External vibrations that match that physical condition to come and say, hey, what's up? Let's talk. I'm on your level. You want to hang? Get what I'm saying? So, the other factor is unresolved inner conflict, which is linked to insecurities. If you neglect yourself and you allow yourself to be manipulated, I said allow, because many times when people are being manipulated, they feel somebody's doing something to me, and they take on a position of victimhood. But it's actually more powerful if you can acknowledge, I allowed this person to manipulate me. It gives you a sense of power, and control, because if you allow something, then you have the ability to stop it. All right. But if you can acknowledge that, hey, I allowed this to happen to me, I allowed this situation. I know some of you are thinking there's some things that we don't allow. There are situations where people are taken advantage of, but we always get to choose how we respond to those situations, and that's what I'm focusing on. Um, another factor Another factor that can weaken the body's emotional factor that can weaken the body's ability to respond is that of pushing against something as opposed to allowing. And sometime in the future, I hope to get some awesome people who'll be willing to demonstrate this. But just think here with me for a moment. You're pushing against anything that you push against. To push against something, you're actually moving towards it, right? Running away from something, you're calling it towards you. When you allow somebody's trying to push against you, and you just simply, oh, hi, how are you doing? You allow it to pass through. Everything continues fine and dandy. I'm not saying it's hunky dory, but what I'm saying is the amount of energy that you exert in just allowing situations to be as it is keeps you in a place of stability as opposed to fighting against it, as opposed to running from. But by allowing, for one thing, we are able to be more mindful in the moment of what is impending. And in addition to that, we're also able to learn from every situation around us. We're able to find a meaning, positive meaning, in every circumstance that we encounter, right? I want to touch on another emotional factor, blame, sorry, and negativity. I can't speak enough about how much blame weakens the immune system and negativity. Anytime you're casting blame on somebody else, a part of you, we're all connected. We are all connected. And we'll talk about that some other time as well. But when you blame someone, when you criticize someone, you're actually killing off parts of yourself in the process, right? You're literally, and I know if you stop to think about it, stop and think about the last time that you encountered a situation where you actually placed blame on somebody without taking any responsibility. I'm not saying that person didn't have a part in the process, but I'm saying you sought out to make it be their fault. It never feels good. And it didn't feel bad because that person did something. It feels bad because you are pretty much depleting parts of yourself by criticizing the other person. Something to be mindful of. Um, the other factor that I want to highlight is a big one, is that of grief. Now, grief has its place. I'm not saying that you should not grieve. Grief has its place. It, however, is necessary to be mindful of how it is affecting and how we choose to grieve, right? Um, Various cultures grieve in different ways, and it might seem almost abnormal for others um, to grieve in a similar fashion. Um, and there are stages of grief that many of us are aware of. When that grief takes on the form of internalization and blaming of yourself and holding on to anger and even fear, sometimes fear, people link their grief to fear. So if this person dies and I'm feeling sad about their loss and I'm not sure, again, it's connected to our belief system. For example, if we're talking about death, your belief about what happens when someone dies could bring a lot of comfort to you in the midst of your grief, or it could bring a lot of doubt and fear. Like, what's going to happen to this person now that they have XYZ, right? So your belief system might be something you want to address. However, um, on the topic of grief, if that brings up a lot of fears and anxiety within you, um, remember I said earlier that the body sympathizes with the brain. There are certain organs in the body that store some of these emotions, right? They're the house for these emotions if we choose to make them live here, right? Because it's a choice that we make. So if you choose to hold on with grief, the lung says, okay, I'll hold on to you like a baby. This is where you'll stay. We'll nestle you. You hold on to it as long as you want. We'll just respond and nestle this grief as long as you want. And as that happens, other physical manifestations may occur as a result of holding on to grief, right? holding holding on to grief um, that is not beneficial, okay? And what happens as a result is that when something external now comes and your body should be strong enough to say, hey, we got your back, it's been exerting so much energy on this grief. I almost said unnecessary, and I don't want to belittle anybody's grief, but it's been spending so much time and energy harnessing this grief that when something else comes, it's almost non-important at this point. This is our baby. We're gonna nestle this grief. We're gonna deal with this grief until you make a decision and say, okay, I know what's happening here, and I want to feel good. And because I want to feel good, not only am I going to take these external things to feel better, these external, whatever it is, remedies, medicines, whatever your go-to would be, but I want to deal with what is going on at the heart of the matter. I want to address this grief, not from a place of victimhood, not from a place of blame, not from a place of anger. And honestly speaking, all of those emotions have their place because no one goes from a place of complete um, depression to a place of, yes, I'm joyful, I'm happy to be alive. No one does that. It never happens. It does not happen. Somebody has to have a rude awakening, rude, very rude awakening, like they went to sleep and they probably died in their sleep and came back alive. Like, I mean, extreme. Okay? It doesn't happen. So let yourself off the hook. And one of the messages that I would like to leave with you is the fact that everything that you have done to this current moment, up until this current moment, makes complete sense when you consider the experiences that you have had. You cannot make any different decisions from the experiences that you've had. Some of you may disagree with me. People respond differently, I know. There are people who've had similar experiences and have chosen a different path. I get that. I get that. And at the same time, when someone has made a choice, when someone has practiced making a particular choice, heading down a particular path, that is their go-to. And whatever they're doing in that moment, even when you have an inkling that this doesn't feel right, in your brain, it makes sense because that's the best way you can deal with it in the moment. So let yourself off the hook because one thing I know for sure is when you finally get something, I'm not talking about knowledge. When you get something, when it resonates with you, there's no going back. You may struggle for a bit, you may have some ebbs and flows, but once you're convicted and that word convicted, once something resonates with you, and when you finally experience the benefit of turning away from that habitual thought pattern, you will never want to go back and you will never feel the same way going back to that old cycle. So let yourself off the hook. because life will continue to send experiences, and life will continue to send you opportunities to turn things around. Okay. And I just want to let everybody know that things are working in your favor, even when you can't see it. All right. So have a blessed day, everybody. Where are you?